Teachers of Reddit, what was something that the class clown did that genuinely made you laugh? This is high school biology. A guy who was known for being a pretty good voice actor was reading a page on the properties of fungi in multiple impressions, making everyone laugh. He often got picked to read after that, and never disappointed. We've had Yogi Bear, Irish guy, Disney princess, Shaggy, Scottish guy, Patrick Warburton, and many more. Before he graduated, his voice was also recorded for phone messages informing of school events, school's voicemail, and MC for many school events. While teaching sexual reproduction to Year 8, one student loudly announced, "I don't get why they call it the birds and the bees. Trains and tunnels makes way more sense. I remember it every single time I teach that unit, and it still makes me giggle." A kid asked if he could have a drink cause he had a cough, then proceeded to pull out a 6-liter bottle of apple juice from his bag. Another sex ed one, "I'm afraid." After explaining in the most professional way 22-year-old me could, what a blowjob was, this was somewhat undermined by a young lad on the front row announcing in his best stage whisper, "That's disgusting, I'm not putting my wing-wang in anyone's mouth." On my first class, I asked my students to introduce themselves saying their names, their hometown and something they liked. Most of them were guys and they liked music, sports, video games and such. After 4 guys introduced themselves, the 5th guy said, "Hi, I'm Peter, I'm from X place and unlike the other guys, I like girls," and we all laughed way too loud. I had a class of 4 for A-level chemistry. They were all very bright and some of the greatest students I had. We were talking about isomers when the brightest boy in the class asks Miss, "How do snakes have sex?" Which led to the whole rest of the class and me bursting in laughter. The following discussion of a mating ball only added to the laughter. Became a meme in the class. When we would get off track, someone would say snake sex and then we would giggle and go back to work. My mom was the sex ed teacher, and was once asked, "Is there really a cherry in there?" Did a presentation about conspiracy theories. It was assessed and had to be recorded. He started off so normal, until he got to the Da Vinci Code, and started talking about the possibilities of Jesus and Mary having sex. I lost it, but held it together, for the recording. Then asked him to elaborate on other theories he had heard. He calmly said, "Well, there was this one that said that Hitler was a dolphin and I had to escort myself out." While walking around the classroom, I tripped on a boy's backpack and almost face planted on the floor. A girl asked me if I were okay, to which I replied, "No, X almost killed me." He turned to me and, without missing a beat, replied, "I won't fail next time." We still laugh about it about every 2 weeks. Definitely my favorite in that group. In a big 300-person study hall at my high school, some guy started making the sound effect of a drag racer going through the gears. The football coach kept running around trying to find the culprit. But when he went to one side of the cafeteria, someone on the other side would take it up. Finally, the coach, red-faced, yelled, "All right, stop it." The next sound was that of Brooks squealing. The whole cafeteria lost it. Talking about statistics on industrial maiming accidents during the Gilded Age, and this kid raises his hand and asks in all seriousness if getting one's nipple rings ripped out by a 19th century textile machine would count as maiming. I will never forget that males have the Y chromosome because the letter Y look like an upside down cock and balls. Mooned the cops and burst through the classroom door yelling gangster rap, made me do it. While being hauled away. I had a habit of throwing markers at students and asking them to throw it back. I'd hold up a hand but never actually try to catch it. Just stood there motionless. During a physics unit, I was tossing a tennis ball around the room. I asked a kid to throw it and took my normal pose. He took his shot and lobbed it, lightly, at my crotch. Direct hit. Not the teacher, but when I was in grade 6, during sex ed, one of my buddies asked the teacher, in a loud voice, "Can blind people do 69?" The entire room broke into laughter, except the guy who asked. Not necessarily the class clown, but I once had one of my first graders look me square in the eye and ask me, why don't they call cookbooks non-fiction? It's stuck with me for about 5 years now. Sorry, not a teacher, just wanted to share. I had a teacher that liked to smack the meter stick on the table to get students to behave. One kid hid them all and then started to troll the teach. Watching the teach scrambling to find these sticks was pure gold. The whole class laughed, even the teacher had a good chuckle once he realized he got played. The class clown drew a surprisingly good caricature of a substitute teacher on the whiteboard when the sub's back was turned. A kid with the last name Watts stuck a paperclip in a socket on the first day of school. I don't know if he planned it or what, but he was fine afterwards. I was teaching a second grade science class for ESL learners and we were talking about sperm whales. Kid, teacher, how big is a sperm whale? Me, thinking he just mispronounced sperm, a sperm whale is gigantic. Kid, holds his hands up in the approximate shape and size of a can of spam. No, it's this big. I'm not a teacher, but I'm my 6th grade English class. We were supposed to think of a social change we want to see happen in our lifetime. This one dude said I don't know, dog depression. The teacher was laughing so fucking hard she had to leave the room. Kinda patting myself on the back here, but our teacher had her fly undone for the whole lesson and people in the class were whispering and giggling about it. Teacher was getting a bit upset, so I yelled out, "Hey guys. Zip it." Everyone burst out in laughter. I think my joke telling peaked that day. Oh, also the teacher never noticed. My mate told his student that he needs a ruler for his work. He picked up a book of Karl Marx and said, "Got my ruler right here, sir." He wished he was high on pot and use. There was this goofy boy, who I'll call A, in my math. Not a teacher but an assistant class that would announce students as they walked into class, and he wasn't mean or anything. He'd just either just say your name like the Price is Right announcer or something silly about you like ladies and gentlemen. You may know him as Chris, but we all call him that guy who referred to grey as dark white. So usually nothing bad. But one time during class this girl walks in and she was pretty small. She kinda looked like she might be a little person but insisted that she wasn't. Anyway, starts hushing the class and says, guys, we are in the presence of a celebrity. And we all start looking around and then he says, welcome, everyone, the midget from hell date. I laughed so hard I got sent to the nurse's office to use my inhaler. Not the class clown or teacher, but my younger brother was the clown in his French class in high school. He would mimic the teacher's French accent and mispronounce words, and she, as well as the whole class, got a hoot out of it. One day she asked him to teach the class as her stand-in. Needless to say, nothing got done besides a lot of laughing. I was monitoring a sex ed talk, which was separated into boys' and girls' rooms. The woman who was leading the boys' room got to the portion where she shows how to properly put on a condom, and takes out a dildo instead of a phallic fruit, which is what I think the boys were expecting, and one boy said something like, "Oh shit, men, better cover your ass. She looks too comfortable handling that." And half that class had no idea what he was taking about, and the other class fell out of their chairs, and the woman presenting winked and said, "And you may want to open those ears. For most women, this is the only thing that can handle them when men fail." This kid was being very inappropriate and kept calling everything gay. The teacher then said, "If I hear you call something gay again, I'll shove this chair straight up your ass." The kid paused, then said, "That's pretty gay." The whole class laughed. The teacher laughed but stopped himself immediately and went into rage mode shortly after. It was math class and we had a system at our school where you have to have a red card to use the bathroom during lesson time. It was only given to students with bladder issues and stuff. So this girl needed to go to because she was on her period, and the teacher says no. She asked her again and the teacher was like, "Not unless you have a red card." Do you have a red card? She, student, paused for a moment, reached into her bag, pulled out her pad and held it high, then went, "Yeah? Here is it." The group of people around her laughed hard, but no one else had heard what she said and were very confused. I confiscated a kid's phone because he arrived to lesson using it to listen to Eminem on full volume. He swore at me, then walked to the front of the classroom, disconnected my monitor from my PC and calmly carried it out of the classroom stating, "You steal my phone, I steal your monitor." I teach computer science, so I was really pleased when he said monitor. He had only ever referred to it as the TV before, and I didn't think he was listening when we did output devices. Silver lining. I only have one story where I really had to try hard to not laugh. Sadly, I think the clown was serious this time. All the students, high school, were writing texts, and suddenly one student raises his hand and asks, "Teach, how is IQ spelled?" We were like 13 to 14. There was a teacher in training at the back of the classroom, watching our teacher do her job. One guy was kinda bullying the class clown and they started yelling at each other. The bully said something insulting and the clown just shouted at the top of his lungs something around the lines of, "And what, your dick got hard?" Everyone lost it, including both teachers.